I sat there, my hands gripping my phone so tightly that my knuckles turned white. My heart was pounding in my chest, a mix of rage and disbelief coursing through me. I read the text again, just to make sure I wasn't imagining things. Since we're paying for the wedding, we should be able to make a small request. It's just a proposal. Don't be so selfish. Selfish. That word again, as if I hadn't spent my entire life swallowing my feelings for the sake of my family. As if I hadn't always been the one to step aside, to let my sister take center stage. But this was beyond anything I had ever expected. I thought back to the moment I found out. I had been sitting in my parents' living room, sipping tea, when my mother dropped the bombshell. So we've been talking, and we think it would be wonderful if Mark proposed to Sophia at your wedding? I almost choked on my drink. I set the cup down carefully, thinking I had misheard. Excuse me? Your sister's been waiting for this moment for so long, Mom continued, smiling like it was the most natural thing in the world. And since all the family will already be there, it makes perfect sense. It'll be so romantic, and imagine how special it'll be for her. I turned to my father, hoping for some kind of sanity. He just nodded, as if he had no choice but to agree. Mark, Sophia's boyfriend, was grinning. It's going to be a viral moment, Emily. Imagine the engagement photos right after your first dance. It'll be unforgettable. I stared at them all, feeling like I had fallen into some bizarre alternate reality. You're joking, I said. You cannot seriously be suggesting this. Mom's smile wavered. Of course I'm serious. What's the big deal? You and James will already be celebrating, and your sister deserves to have her special moment too. Deserves, as if I didn't. No. My voice was firm, my pulse racing. Absolutely not. This is my wedding. It's about me and James, not Sophia. Mom's expression darkened. Don't be ungrateful, Emily. We're paying for this wedding. All we're asking is for you to be generous. Why do you always have to be so difficult? A cold wave of realization washed over me. That was it, wasn't it? The only reason they had insisted on paying was so they could control it, so they could use it for what they really wanted. I stood up. If you think you can buy my wedding just so you can turn it into Sophia's engagement party, you're out of your mind. Mark scoffed. Jesus, Emily, it's not like we're stealing the whole day. It's just one moment. One moment? I shot back. So my wedding, something I've been planning for months, is just a convenient backdrop for your proposal? Mom crossed her arms. You're being dramatic. I looked at my sister, the one person who could have stopped this. She sat there silent, her lips pressed together like she was weighing whether it was worth speaking up. She could have told them no. She could have said it was a bad idea, but she didn't. You know what? I said, my voice suddenly eerily calm. You can have the wedding. Mom blinked. What? I mean it. You want a big party? You want a venue full of guests to celebrate Sophia? Fine. You paid for it, right? So enjoy it. I turned on my heel and walked out of the house, leaving them in stunned silence. When I got home, James was waiting. The second he saw my face, he knew something was wrong. What happened? He asked. We're not getting married at that venue, I said flatly. He frowned. What do you mean? I told him everything, every disgusting detail. By the end, he looked just as furious as I felt. So they were just using us, he muttered. Yep. He let out a slow breath, running a hand through his hair. So what do you want to do? I had already made up my mind. Call your grandparents. See if the offer still stands. He nodded immediately. We had originally wanted a small wedding at his grandparents' home by the lake, but my parents had pressured us into something bigger. Now I was done letting them dictate my life. If they're still willing to host it, we move forward with our original plan, I said, and we don't tell my family a damn thing. James smiled. I love this side of you. The side that doesn't take shit? Exactly. We spent the next few days making quiet preparations. His grandparents were thrilled to have us back at their place. Our closest friends and family, the ones who truly supported us, were given the real details. Meanwhile, my parents continued planning what they still thought was my wedding. I received texts from Mom, completely oblivious to the fact that I was no longer part of their plans. We'll need you to write a speech for the proposal. Don't forget to tell Sophia how happy you are for her. I didn't respond. Then there was Mark. Look, I know you were upset, but you'll see how amazing this will be. You'll thank me later. I blocked his number. The day before my actual wedding, James and I packed our bags ready to head to the lake house. My phone buzzed one last time. Mom, everything's ready for tomorrow. So excited. We'll go over the final details in the morning. I smiled and turned off my phone. The next morning, while my parents and their guests arrived at the fancy venue expecting a wedding, James and I were already saying our vows in the quiet, peaceful ceremony we had always wanted. When we finally posted the pictures, the fallout was glorious. My mother lost her mind. How could you do this to us? Do you know how much money we spent? Do you have any idea how embarrassed we are? Sophia, predictably, played the victim. I can't believe you would ruin my engagement like this. You could have just let it happen. Mark, desperate to salvage the situation, still went through with his proposal. Some guests stayed, some left, but the beautiful, grand wedding my mother had imagined turned into a half-empty, awkward engagement party. Meanwhile, James and I sipped champagne on the beach, watching the waves roll in. Do you think they'll ever speak to me again? I mused. James grinned. Do you care? I thought about it for a moment. Not really. I had spent my entire life trying to earn my family's love, but I realized something that day. Love that comes with conditions isn't love at all. I was finally free. As we lounged on the beach, sipping our champagne, my phone buzzed nonstop. I didn't even need to check it. I knew exactly what was happening. My mother had probably sent a dozen furious texts. My father had likely tried calling, and Sophia would be playing the victim as hard as she could. James leaned over, peering at my phone with a smirk. Go on, check it. Let's see how bad the damage is. I sighed, unlocking my phone. The group chat with my family was exploding. Mom, how could you do this to us? Do you know how much money we spent? How much planning went into this? How dare you humiliate us like this? Dad, you need to fix this. Call us now. Sophia. Wow, just wow. You're really that selfish, huh? You couldn't even let me have this one thing? Mark. We went through with the proposal anyway. People loved it, despite you ruining the moment. I rolled my eyes. Of course they would act like I was the problem. Then there were the messages from extended family members. Aunt Laura. Your mother is crying, Emily. Was this really necessary? Uncle Steve. I don't blame you. I can't believe they thought that was okay. Cousin Rachel. Girl, I am living for this drama. Good for you. James chuckled, rating over my shoulder. See? Not everyone's against you. I shrugged, sipping my drink. I just don't care anymore. Because I didn't. For the first time in my life, I didn't care about their approval. I didn't care about their guilt trips, their manipulation, or their desperate attempts to control me. They had spent my entire life treating me like I was second best, like I was just a supporting character in Sophia's perfect little story. But not anymore. I clicked on my mom's messages, hovering my thumb over the keyboard. James watched, curious. What are you going to say? I typed slowly, deliberately. Me. You paid for a party. You got a party. Whether or not I was in it was never really your concern. Enjoy the engagement celebration. Then I blocked her. James let out a low whistle. Damn, cold. Necessary, I corrected, turning off my phone. They made their bed. Now they get to lie in it. Back home, my family was in chaos. Their big, extravagant wedding had turned into a scandal, with guests murmuring about how distasteful it was to hijack someone else's wedding. Some of the guests left in frustration, realizing they had been tricked. Others stayed, probably out of morbid curiosity, watching the train wreck unfold. Sophia, despite getting engaged, wasn't as thrilled as she had imagined. Without the full wedding as a backdrop, the grand spectacle she had envisioned was lackluster. This isn't fair, she had reportedly complained to one of our aunts. I deserved a magical engagement. Mark, realizing that his viral moment had turned into an online joke, was now doing damage control. Mom, embarrassed beyond belief, was trying to spin the story. Emily ran off and eloped. She humiliated us. She wasted our generosity. But not everyone was buying it. Wasn't it her wedding? Why were you planning an engagement proposal at the same time? Why didn't you just let her have her moment? Honestly, sounds like she did the right thing. Y'all are crazy. Mom deleted her original post after people started questioning her. But the internet never forgets. Meanwhile, James and I enjoyed every moment of our honeymoon. We explored beautiful old towns, ate incredible food, and basked in the joy of knowing that we had done what was right for us. A week later, as we were walking through a bustling Italian market, James nudged me. So, what now? What do you mean? I asked, biting into a pastry. Now that you're officially done with the family drama, what's next? I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in years. Whatever we want, because for the first time in my life, I was free. Free from expectations, free from guilt, free to live my life exactly how I wanted, and that was worth more than any wedding could ever be. I sat on the balcony of our honeymoon suite, the warm breeze brushing against my skin, the distant hum of the city below blending with the gentle waves crashing against the shore. James was inside, humming to himself as he poured us another glass of wine. For the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. My phone lay face down on the table. I hadn't checked it all day, and honestly, I wasn't sure I even wanted to. But curiosity won. I turned it over, unlocking it with a lazy swipe, and scrolled through the flood of unread messages. Mom had left at least 10 texts, all filled with guilt tripping. Mom, you have no idea how much pain you've caused. I hope you're happy. Mom, people are asking what happened, and I don't know what to tell them. You need to fix this. Mom, you've humiliated us, Emily. I don't know if I can ever forgive you. Sophia's messages were more direct. Sophia, you're so unbelievably selfish. I can't believe you ruined my moment just because you couldn't stand not being the center of attention for once. Sophia, enjoy your stupid honeymoon. Just know that everyone sees you for who you really are now. Mark, of course, had his own version of events. Mark, you're a bitter, jealous woman. I was trying to do something beautiful, and you destroyed it. I hope you can live with yourself. I snorted. Oh, I absolutely can. But the best messages? They weren't from my family. They were from extended relatives, from old friends, even from people I barely spoke to, but had apparently heard what happened. Aunt Laura, I always knew your mom played favorites, but this is the next level. Good for you for standing up for yourself. Uncle Steve, honestly, your parents should be ashamed. You did the right thing. Cousin Rachel, girl, you are my new hero. The way you left them scrambling. Chef's kiss. Enjoy your honeymoon, Queen. I laughed out loud, setting my phone down. James walked over, handing me my glass. Judging by that laugh, I'm guessing the fallout is entertaining. You have no idea. He sat beside me, stretching his legs out. So, what's the verdict? Are we officially the villains of the family now? Oh, definitely. According to my mom, I've humiliated them beyond repair. According to Sophia, I'm the worst person alive. And according to Mark, I personally ruined his grand romantic gesture. James clinked his glass against mine. Well, here's to being the villains. I smiled, taking a sip. Meanwhile, back home, things were crumbling. My parents had poured so much money into an event that ultimately became nothing more than a poorly attended engagement party. Word spread quickly, and people started questioning their choices. Why didn't they just let Emily have her wedding? Who plans a proposal during someone else's big day? This whole thing is embarrassing. Sophia, who had always been adored and celebrated, was now facing something she had never encountered before. Criticism. She wasn't the glowing star of the night. She wasn't the beloved golden child. She was just a girl who got engaged at a wedding that never happened. Mark, despite his arrogance, was facing his own consequences. His grand viral proposal? It didn't go viral the way he wanted. Instead of admiration, people mocked him for being tacky, for stealing the spotlight, for making someone else's day about himself. Even their friends, who had initially been excited, were starting to see the cracks. So wait, Emily never agreed to this? That's actually messed up. Man, I wouldn't have done that to my sister. The more they tried to justify it, the worse it got. My parents, realizing they had lost control of the narrative, did what they always did, played the victims. They told anyone who would listen that I had betrayed them, that I had turned my back on family, that I had disrespected the people who raised me. But it didn't matter, because for the first time in my life, I didn't need their approval. I had James. I had my real friends. I had people who actually loved and respected me. So while they spent the next few weeks drowning in the mess they created, I was here sipping wine on a beautiful balcony, watching the sunset with the man I loved. I turned to James, resting my head on his shoulder. "So, what's next?" He chuckled. "Whatever we want." And that was the best part. For the first time, my life was finally mine. So, what do you think? Did I go too far? Should I have just gone along with their ridiculous plan, or did they get exactly what they deserved? Let me know in the comments below. And if you've ever had a wedding disaster or a golden child sibling, I'd love to hear your stories. Thanks for reading, and if you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe for more shocking, real-life stories.